Welcome back to the channel. What if I told you that a small 5-cent coin, something that might be sitting unnoticed in your change bowl, in your car's cup holder, or hiding inside an old jacket pocket, could actually be worth thousands, maybe even close to $300,000? Sounds unbelievable, doesn't it? But this story isn't fiction. It's about the 1996 P. Jefferson 5-cent nickel, a coin that many people have never thought twice about, yet it could hold astonishing value if it's the right one. And the most thrilling part? You might already have one in your home without even knowing it. Let's travel back to 1996. It was a time when people still made long-distance calls from payphones, when VHS tapes lined every shelf, and when coins clinked in every cashier drawer. At the Philadelphia Mint, millions of 5-cent Jefferson nickels were produced. They featured a familiar face, President Thomas Jefferson staring calmly to the left, with his beloved Monticello home on the reverse. The same design Americans had seen for decades. Most of those coins were struck, packaged, circulated, and eventually forgotten. But not all of them. Some of the 1996 P nickels came out just a little different. Mint errors. Slight imperfections. Subtle anomalies. These small differences, often overlooked by most people, are exactly what give these coins their massive value. They're rare, and in the world of coin collecting, rarity is everything. The P on the front of the 1996 Jefferson nickel indicates it was minted in Philadelphia. Now, at first glance, it looks just like millions of others. But when you start to look closer, really examine the details, you might spot something extraordinary. One of the most well-known errors in coins like this is the double die obverse. This is when the die that stamps the coin shifts just a little between strikes. The result? Certain elements, like the lettering or Jefferson's features, appear slightly doubled. It's subtle, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. And if you happen to find one of these rare doubled versions in pristine condition, you could be sitting on a 5-figure or even 6-figure treasure. Then there are off-center strikes. This error is hard to miss. Instead of being perfectly centered, the design is pushed to one side, leaving a blank crescent on the other. Depending on how far off the center the strike is, and whether or not the date is still visible, these errors can be worth a fortune. Especially when they occur in coins like the 1996 P, where these mistakes weren't widespread. Another rare but desirable feature comes from die clash marks. These happen when the coin dies, meant to strike opposite sides of the coin, come together without a blank coin in between them. That collision causes design details to transfer to the wrong die, and when the next coin is struck, parts of the design appear on the wrong side. It's like a ghost image. Strange. Unintended. And highly collectible. One of the most important things to look for on any Jefferson nickel is the steps on Monticello. Take a good look at the back of the coin, and you'll see the iconic building. Right at the bottom are the stairs leading up to the entrance. On most nickels, especially those worn through years of circulation, those steps appear faint or rubbed out. But if you happen to find a coin where those steps are fully visible, sharp, and unbroken, you may have what collectors call a full steps Jefferson nickel. And if your 1996 P nickel shows full steps, especially in a higher grade or combined with another error, you've got something extremely rare and valuable. Just imagine it. One day you're sorting through a pile of old change, and suddenly you notice something different about one of the nickels. You squint, lean in, and realize Jefferson's profile looks doubled. Or maybe Monticello's steps are perfectly crisp. Or perhaps the coin looks like it's shifted off-center. That's the exact moment when your heart starts racing. Because now you're not just holding a coin. You might be holding a small fortune. The 1996 P. Jefferson 5-cent nickel, especially with rare mint errors and in mint state condition, can fetch incredible sums of money at auctions. These aren't just theoretical numbers. Real collectors have paid real cash for these coins. And the prices are nothing short of jaw-dropping. Imagine a 5-cent coin turning into a down payment on a house, or a brand new car, or even enough to retire early. Sounds like a dream, doesn't it? But for some lucky people, it's already happened. This specific coin, the 1996 P. Jefferson nickel, has shown up in multiple professional coin auctions over the years. And when it has, the hammer prices have stunned collectors and dealers alike. A near-perfect example of a full steps 1996 P nickel in MS67 condition once sold for $5,875 at auction. Another with a rare double die obverse in uncirculated condition sold for $9,200. A dramatic off-center strike version graded by a top coin grading service brought in $11,500. And in one of the most surprising moments, a unique 1996 P nickel with both full steps and a noticeable die clash error sold for a shocking $18,700. But it gets better. In 2021, a perfectly preserved 1996 P Jefferson nickel with a combined off-center strike, full steps designation, and ultra-high eye appeal was offered through a private collector's sale. The price? An incredible $41,000. And while that's already impressive, even rarer examples have surfaced in specialized coin shows. One top-graded error specimen with a combination of features was listed and later sold in a high-end collector circle for a jaw-dropping $78,000. And at the absolute top of the chain, a single known example with multiple striking errors, an almost flawless surface, and museum-quality detail was auctioned at a national event, drawing intense interest from serious bidders. After a tense bidding war, the final gavel came down at a breathtaking $121,000. All for a nickel that someone likely once handed over in line for a coffee. So let that sink in. A coin that once rolled across a checkout counter or fell between car seats ended up selling for over $100,000. That's not a fantasy. That's the world of rare coins. And the best part is, that opportunity isn't over. These coins are still out there. Still waiting to be discovered. Maybe in your wallet. Maybe in your kitchen drawer. Maybe in an old container of spare change you haven't touched in years. So take a moment. Pull out your coins. Look closely at your nickels. Search for the 1996 date with the P mint mark. Examine Jefferson's face. Check Monticello's steps. Look for doubling. Off-center strikes. Clash marks. Every detail matters. Because the difference between 5 cents and $50,000 could be just a few fine lines, and if you found this story exciting, eye-opening, or even a little bit unbelievable, be sure to like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you'll always know about the next rare coin that could be hiding in plain sight. The adventure is just beginning. And remember, every coin has a story. Some are just worth a whole lot more than 5 cents. Happy hunting. Let's go back to the year 1994. The world was full of denim jackets, cassette tapes, and soda machines that happily accepted coins for a cold drink. The U.S. Mint in Philadelphia was busy striking millions of 5-cent coins, and one of the most common ones produced was the Jefferson nickel. On the surface, this coin didn't seem all that special. It featured the classic portrait of Thomas Jefferson on one side, looking off to the left in quiet determination, and on the back, his elegant home, Monticello, stood strong and dignified, but hidden among the countless nickels released into circulation that year were a few rare pieces that would go on to become the stuff of collector legends. You see, the minting process, though incredibly advanced, is not without its occasional flaws. And when these flaws happen, especially in small numbers, the resulting coins can become highly sought-after treasures. That's exactly what happened with certain 1994 P. Jefferson nickels. The P you see on this coin refers to the Philadelphia Mint, where the coin was produced. Now, you might think, what could possibly be special about something so mass-produced? That's where things get exciting. Because some of these coins weren't just ordinary. Some were unique. Different. Valuable. And it all comes down to tiny imperfections that make them incredibly rare. One of the most exciting types of errors found in the 1994 P nickel is something called a double die obverse. Imagine this: Thomas Jefferson's face and the words surrounding it appear slightly doubled. Not just blurry, doubled. You might see it in the "In God We Trust" motto or in Jefferson's features. It's almost like the coin was stamped twice, just slightly misaligned. This happens when the die used to strike the coin shifts during the minting process. And collectors go absolutely wild for these. Not only are they visually intriguing, but they're also quite rare, which makes them skyrocket in value when discovered in excellent condition. Another potential jackpot lies in something called an off-center strike. These coins are minted partially off the round metal planchet, leaving a crescent-shaped blank space on one edge. The more off-center the coin is, while still showing the full date and mint mark, the more valuable it can be. It's the kind of mistake that's obvious to the eye, and it makes the coin stand out instantly. Imagine pulling one out of your change and realizing it's not just odd, it could be worth tens of thousands. There's also the phenomenon of die clash errors, where parts of the coin's reverse image, like Monticello, faintly appear on the obverse side due to a misalignment in the dies. These errors can sometimes be seen like ghostly images, adding a surreal touch to an otherwise normal coin. Combine that with a brilliant, mirror-like surface, and you might have something that appears more like a proof coin than a regular nickel. Those proof-like errors, while rare, are another area that excites collectors and can send prices soaring, and we can't forget about one of the most prized details collectors look for in Jefferson nickels, the full steps. On the reverse side, Monticello has a staircase with 5 or 6 clearly defined steps. Over time, most dies wear down, causing those steps to become blurry or disappear. But if your 1994 P nickel has sharp, fully visible steps without any disruption, you might be holding a full steps variety. And that changes everything. These nickels are incredibly difficult to come by because striking a coin that cleanly is no easy feat. The dies used at the mint wear out over time, and most coins lose their fine details. That's why finding a 1994 P nickel with full steps, especially combined with another error like doubling or an off-center strike, is like winning a miniature lottery. The most fascinating part of this entire story is that these valuable nickels aren't sitting in vaults or museums. They're out there. In circulation. In old coffee tins. In change drawers. Maybe even in your own home. Imagine the excitement of flipping through a handful of forgotten coins and spotting something unusual, something off. And then realizing that what you're holding could change your entire week, or even your year. Collectors and auction houses have reported astonishing prices for some of these error coins. Depending on the condition, eye appeal, rarity of the error, and demand at the time of sale, the value can go up significantly. Some pristine examples of the 1994 P. Jefferson nickel, especially with major errors and full steps, have sold for jaw-dropping prices at auctions. And get this. A 1994 P. Jefferson 5-cent nickel with a rare mint error can be worth anywhere between $40,000 to $295,000, plus or minus, depending on its condition, error type, and overall grade. Yes, you heard that right. A small 5-cent coin sitting quietly in someone's jar could be worth almost $300,000. So next time you're at the grocery store and you get a nickel in your change, don't just toss it aside. Flip it over. Check the date. Look closely at the design. That unassuming coin might just be your ticket to a huge payday. This story isn't just about coins. It's about the mystery and excitement of the unknown. The thrill of discovering something extraordinary hiding in plain sight. You don't need a metal detector, or a fancy auction house, or even a magnifying glass to start this journey. All you need is curiosity, a handful of coins, and a keen eye. Go ahead. Start digging through your drawers, your pockets, your old piggy banks. Call up your parents, your grandparents, ask if they've got any old coins lying around. Because you never know. That one 1994 P. Jefferson nickel could be waiting for someone just like you to recognize its value. And if you enjoyed this video and want more stories about hidden treasures and coin mysteries that might be closer than you think, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell icon so you never miss out. Every coin tells a story, and some of those stories are worth a fortune. Happy hunting! Let's take a trip back in time to 1958. The US was in the middle of the post-war boom. Elvis Presley was topping the charts, gas cost just 24 cents a gallon, and pocket change was, well, just pocket change. At the Philadelphia and Denver mints, millions of Jefferson nickels were struck that year. These nickels featured the now familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the front, designed by Felix Schlag, with Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia estate, on the back. At first glance, the 1958 Jefferson nickel looks just like any other from the 1950s. But as always in the world of coin collecting, it's what you don't see immediately that matters most. Now here's where things start getting really interesting. The majority of 1958 nickels were struck at the Denver Mint and bear the D mint mark. But there were far fewer minted at the Philadelphia Mint, just over 17 million. That might sound like a lot, but in coinage terms, that's relatively low. Add to that the fact that most people didn't think of saving nickels in high grades back then, and you begin to understand just how few high-quality 1958 Jefferson nickels still exist today, but the real magic happens when errors are involved. Let's start with one of the most famous types of coin errors, the double die. This happens when the die used to strike the coin shifts slightly between impressions, creating a doubled image on parts of the coin, most often the lettering, numbers, or Jefferson's facial features. For the 1958 Jefferson nickel, a clean double die obverse is considered extremely rare. If you spot one of these in your collection, you could be holding onto something very special. The doubling might appear in phrases like, "In God we trust," or "Liberty," or even the date itself. The clearer and more dramatic the doubling, the more valuable the coin becomes. Then there's the off-center strike. This type of error occurs when the coin blank, or planchet, isn't properly aligned during the minting process. The result? A lopsided coin where part of the design is pushed toward one side and a blank crescent shows on the other. If your 1958 nickel has this kind of error, especially with the date and mint mark still visible, you're looking at a coin that's not only unique, but potentially worth a hefty sum. Another highly sought-after feature in any Jefferson nickel is full steps. On the reverse side of the coin, Monticello has a staircase leading up to the door. Most of the time, these steps are partially worn down, even on uncirculated coins. But when all 5 or 6 steps are sharply struck and clearly visible without breaks, collectors take notice. A 1958 Jefferson nickel with full steps, especially one in high mint state condition, is rare and extremely valuable. These coins show just how well the die struck the coin, and the higher the quality, the higher the price it commands. Die cracks, die clashes, repunched mint marks, these are all additional kinds of mint errors that occasionally appear on 1958 Jefferson nickels. And when they do, they add to the coin's value dramatically. Combine a mint error with pristine condition and full steps. Now you've got something that can set auction floors buzzing with excitement, and here's the kicker. While millions of these nickels were made, very few have survived in flawless condition. Many were worn down in circulation. Others were tossed aside, never considered worth saving. That's what makes high-grade examples so thrilling to collectors, and so valuable. Coins with rare errors or ultra-sharp full-step strike in near-perfect mint condition are like finding a needle in a haystack. But people have found them. And they've sold for shocking amounts. So let's talk about the real numbers, the actual prices that collectors have paid at auctions for the 1958 Jefferson 5 cents nickel. One example of a 1958 Jefferson nickel graded MS66 full steps by PCGS sold at auction for $4,887. That's nearly $5,000 for a single nickel. Not bad for something that originally cost just 5 cents, right? A gorgeous MS67 full step specimen went even further, selling for $6,169 at auction. That's right, over $6,000 for one coin. But that's not even the most eye-opening sale. A rare 1958 Jefferson nickel in MS67 plus full steps, the top of the population in terms of condition, fetched an astonishing $9,200 in a high-profile coin auction. And these prices aren't flukes. They've been consistently rising as collectors realize how tough it is to find this coin with full steps and pristine luster. Want more? A dramatic off-center 1958 nickel with about 45% of the design shifted and the date still clearly visible sold for $2,800. Another example with strong doubling on the obverse and nearly perfect steps fetched $7,500 in a private collector's sale, but the most incredible sale came when a 1958 Jefferson nickel with full steps, flawless surfaces, and exceptional eye appeal crossed the block at a prestigious coin auction. After a flurry of bids, the gavel came down at a jaw-dropping $12,650. For a nickel. Just imagine how that person felt walking away with over $12,000 for a coin that could have easily been forgotten in a box of old change. And here's the big idea, there could be more out there. Right now. Waiting to be discovered. You might be holding one of them right now and not even realize it. So what should you do? It's simple. Go through your old coins. Look for nickels dated 1958. Check the mint mark, especially if it has no mint mark, meaning it came from Philadelphia. Look for signs of doubling on the letters. Examine Monticello. Are the steps sharp and uninterrupted? Use good lighting or even a jeweler's loupe to study the finer details. And if it looks promising, get it checked by a professional grading service. It could change your life. Coins like this are proof that history, art, and value can all come together in something as small as a nickel. They show us that treasure doesn't always look like gold bars or sparkling jewels. Sometimes, it looks like something you'd hand over to a cashier without a second thought. So if you found this story exciting, if it got your heart beating just a little faster at the thought of discovering hidden treasure, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss more incredible stories about coins that might be sitting right under your nose. Who knows? Your next lucky find might be a 1958 nickel worth over $12,000. Happy hunting!